This was an incredible moment on XQC's stream. As he was taking in the Turning Point USA halftime show, he noticed the number of viewers, but importantly, the live chat was not moving. This was a tell in my eyes. It showed how this entire thing that happened was likely botted to the nth degree. Kid Rock performed where he lip synced so bad that he didn't catch up to the lyrics or vice versa. Regardless, it looked awful and sounded cheap. On top of this,
Turning Point USA hosted an alternative halftime show, and yet every single right-wing influencer and President Trump managed to watch Bad Bunny's performance, and they all had an absolute meltdown over it. As you can see from this video, Trump is literally at Mar-a-Lago watching Bad Bunny's halftime performance instead of Kid Rock. If you didn't catch Kid Rock's performance, though, you really didn't miss too much because it looks like he lip-synced and the whole performance wasn't even live, it was pre-recorded. So MAGA basically spent millions on this performance, all to create their own halftime safe space, something that they used to mock. But because they were so scared of being offended by Bad Bunny's performance, and yet he delivered not only a unifying and incredible performance, but the most watched Super Bowl halftime show in history. Turning Point USA claims that it had 5 million live viewers, but the thing is that people on YouTube who were viewing it noticed that the live chat wasn't moving, aka that the viewers on it were basically a bunch of bots. It's really sad we live in a time where there are people who are more outraged at a US citizen singing in Spanish for 15 minutes than they are about the fact that our government is currently being run by a bunch of people who are in the Epstein files. So if these are the messages that offend you, then I just don't think we agree on the purpose or promise of America.
you heard it correctly. The leader of MAGA, Donald Trump, the man who really had a hissy fit over Bad Bunny being selected along with every other person within their orbit. Yeah, he didn't play the Turning Point USA halftime show at Mar-a-Lago, proving once more it's all a grift. Furthermore, viral Twitter account Blue ATL Georgia put this message above a tweet from a film production friend here in Atlanta. TPUSA's halftime show hired 200 paid extras as their audience. That message would read, it was taped just this past week at one of the new production stages at Trillith Live with about 200 paid extras as audience. They kept it super hush-hush, and even those of us working on the live music venue in the building didn't know until Friday. Well, that is beyond embarrassing, but also not surprising. Lee Bryce sang Real American, which extols a place where everything's made in the USA. It is not. And Bryce premiering a brand new song called Country Nowadays, in which he would fetch about seeing a picture of a flag up in flames while people cheer. Tell me where this happened. Along with making the statement, little boys ain't little girls. One C-SPAN caller would weigh in.
I wanted to make a comment about the halftime show. The people who are complaining about it being in Spanish, the album that was a top winning award was all in Spanish. You wouldn't ask an opera singer, an Italian opera singer, to convert her song into English. That's ridiculous. In the 50s, blacks would go overseas. Blues singers, jazz singers. They sang in Paris and France. They sang in English. This whole thing about the Spanish is just a made-up controversy, and it's unfortunate. The most important thing he said at the end was in English, God bless America. We have to stop being so discriminatory toward anything that's not like us all the time. It was a great performance. It was all love. You did not need to be able to speak English to understand it. Thank you.
And rightfully, they got clowned on TikTok.
The Turning Point USA halftime show is a complete and total failure. They were so scared of people not watching that they desperately sent these texts out to thousands of people. They're even making excuses for themselves by now saying that they can't stream the show on X. When will they realize that people just don't want to watch your show? We all want to watch Bad Bunny. You can't make this stuff up.
I think my favorite thing about the Turning Point halftime show is the fact that you have a country singer standing up there singing a song called Real American, and in the lyrics they talk about patriotism and the good old red, white, and blue and how everything is made in the USA while he's wearing a Louis Vuitton shirt, a French luxury brand. And the shirt itself is from a 2020 collection that was made in Italy. and it retailed for about $1,400. The designer of this collection is Tomoaki Nagayo. He's a Japanese designer, and he talks about how this collection has an instrumental mix of countercultural references, and how he was interested in essentially like collecting and learning new things. So the only way to satisfy that was to travel and listen to punk music and do all these different things. Counterculture in fashion is rejecting the consumerist and materialist kind of interpretation. We saw this in the 60s and 70s with those that would have been considered part of the hippie movement. People who were embracing self-expression. They were shunning the cultural standards of their parents, and they were embracing things like gender and racial equality. The irony of these kinds of jokes just write themselves.
This is a joke. This man says, "What in the world makes you think Turning Point USA show had anything to do with trash or racism? Why do you hate and slur millions of folks like that? Maybe they had a different take on the music, blah, blah, blah." No, sweetie, Turning Point USA quite literally is a political organization. What are you talking about? It was Charlie Kirk's organization, and if you don't know Charlie Kirk's view, he went around to different colleges indoctrinating people into thinking that black people committed more crimes, that immigrants were the cause of all of our problems, that being gay was a sin according to his religion, shoving his religion down other people's throats. It quite literally is a political organization, and creating a second halftime show because you call Bad Bunny anti-American because this crowd is so uneducated that they don't know that Puerto Rico is in fact part of the United States and that Bad Bunny is in fact an American citizen, which doesn't even matter, by the way. But we've had other halftime shows where the performer was not an American citizen. Bad Bunny quite literally is.
I must reinforce this once more. The arts are inherently anti-right-wing. To an extent, they are inherently anti-capitalist. To an extent, they are anti-colonialism. The arts represent the people. And when you have freaking bootlickers like Kid Rock, and even the Jason Aldeans of the world, I know he didn't perform, but Lee Bryce, and the write-up even saying, yeah, you know, it didn't get that political. And this dude is saying, you know what really gets me mad? That, you know, you should know trans people are crazy and little boys ain't little girls. And I'm glad one of the TikTokers brought it up because one tweeter pointed this out as well. He was wearing something that is so incredibly expensive. I cannot fathom spending that on one piece of clothing. But yeah, you are for sure like everyday Americans. Kick freaking rocks, you joke of an artist. Get freaking real, man. You're trying to tell me that you relate to, for lack of a better word, and I'll put in quotes, redneck, because we really need to understand the origins of that word, what it means, and how they also were anti-capitalist in their plight. But that's another argument for another day. You're really trying to say that you relate to that person when you are spending $1,500 on one piece of clothing? Are you kidding me? Are you for real? Are you for real? And of course they did like a memorial to Charlie Kirk. All I can tell you is this, okay? Towards the end of the second quarter of the Super Bowl, I pulled up Haas's stream because I saw that he was going to watch the Turning Point USA halftime show with Felix and Pablo Toure. Absolutely love him. Goated human being. And I saw the quick cuts, and as someone who majored in media in college, I knew right away. I told my wife, we were watching on the couch, had Haas's stream on my phone, Super Bowl on the TV, obviously. And within, 5 seconds, maybe 10 tops, I said, this is absolutely pre-recorded. The cuts are too clean. Everything is way too clean. There aren't transitions between one artist to another. It's too quick. There's no shot. Which also shows how manufactured this entire thing is. It was hilariously bad. All of it was horrible. Every single part of it was terrible. It was dog, you know what? It was dog poop. They're telling me I can't swear. When I saw this, all I could think, wow, this is what you guys put on the American, the American halftime show, really? And yet you have Bad Bunny saying, we are all America, representing the Americas. Because, like Green Day's American Idiot, we are dumb. And it is by design by many right-leaning Congress people because they want to pretty much wipe away public education. And even to that extent, I mean, I'm just tangenting here. We have the Maxwells, as in Ghislaine's family, owning the textbooks. So think about the history that we're learning in schools. Regardless, they want to make it worse. And this is a perfect example because Americans, when they, even me saying that sounds dumb now, when people who reside in the U.S. hear America, they think of one sole country when they don't think of the continent. That is how freaking stupid we are, not only as human beings, but as red-blooded, again, gotta stop saying it, people of the United States of America. Bad Bunny is talking about unifying. He's talking about bringing everyone together. And what they're doing is saying, please look at us. Please, I know we're pathetic. I know we're thirsty for the grift, but please just look at us. Overall, out of 10, I would say -85. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.